Nitro begins with the NWO and Bischoff and Hogan. They all come out and they've got Canadian flags. The announcers cannot figure out why. Why in the world do they have Canadian flags?
They don't have $1.99 a minute.
So first, Bischoff teases that he's going to introduce Bret, but instead he calls out Kevin Nash. Nash comes out and he cuts a promo. Anyway, I'll let Vinny recap all of that, but the point of this is, Bischoff is so goddamn cocky at this moment in the ring with all of these guys. And it's so easy to see why. He had Starrcade coming up, Hogan versus Sting. Everybody knew this was going to be their biggest pay-per-view of all time, by miles, which it was. They just raided Bret Hart from WWE, WWF. That fucking company is in shambles. You watch Raw every week and it's a disaster with a few shining bright lights, but it's largely disaster. They appear to be on the edge of collapse. They're losing in the ratings war every single week. Their biggest star is Steve Austin, who the doctors have told, dude, you really shouldn't be wrestling. Your neck's fucked up and you should retire. But Austin doesn't give a fuck, and it's 1997, so they just let the guy wrestle. I mean, you can imagine why Bischoff thought, dude, I'm like months away from putting this fucking company out of business.
Yeah.
And he's getting so goddamn cocky.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they came out with for a promo with all the flags everywhere. Nash comes out for the first time in, 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere around there. Makes some goofy jokes, and he addresses the Giant. And I actually love this. He says, I would love to beat up the Giant. So, Giant, I am challenging you to face me in World War III. Not on the show. In the match.
Yeah.
With 58 other dudes in the way. That was like the best heel line I've ever heard in my life right there. That was awesome. And then Bischoff gets his moment in the sun. This had to be the peak of his professional career right here. Spending a billionaire's money to surround himself with talent. Makes a joke about Bret punching out Vince McMahon, mentioning Bret by name, which has the announcers, did he just say Bret Hart? Did he just say Bret Hart's name? Elizabeth plays a band leader. They all sing "Oh Canada" terribly.
Ugh.
It was so bad they started over. It didn't get any better. And finally, the outright said, Bret Hart is the newest member of the NWO. And the announcers are baffled, A, that Bret is being associated with Nitro at all, B, that a guy who grew up in the business and stood for tradition would join the NWO. They go to break. They go to the announcers. The announcers make it clear. I don't think they actually mentioned what had happened the night before, but they did say Bret Hart is no quitter. He will never give up. Said that over and over again. So Gene's there. He says to the crowd, once again, Bret has joined the NWO. For more news, call my hotline, including tips about a backstage confrontation between Bret Hart and an opposing promoter.
Must have made so goddamn much money.
How come he said an opposing promoter where they blatantly have given spoilers on their show mentioning by name, and now it's an opposing promoter?
Maybe Heyman was backstage. I don't know.
Maybe they thought if we say Vince, like everyone will know the story. But by not saying Vince's name, everyone presumes it's Vince, but they're not sure, and so they got a call to find out for sure.
That makes sense. Best answer I got.
I mean, dude, Gene made a lot of money on that goddamn hotline.
Sure.
He knew what he was doing.
Steve Regal and Dave Taylor versus Harlem Heat.
How was this bad?
Everything was going fine, and then it all turned in an instant. Booker T goes up top. Stevie Ray takes the ref. And then time freezes. Nothing happens for like 10 seconds. Thinking about it now, I think Taylor was supposed to knock him off the ropes and forgot the spot. Eventually, Booker jumped, Regal dodged, and the Englishman hit some moves on Stevie Ray and pinned him. No one will ever brag about this match.
There was a moment where I was watching this and I thought, this is a pretty fun little match right here. And then no sooner should I speak than it just fell apart. Like, it just fell apart. And Regal and Taylor were just going to keep going. They didn't care. They just kept wrestling. And then Taylor grabbed the guy and suplexed him and held him down and won. It was a mess. But a hilarious mess.
They showed Saturn beating Disco Inferno for the TV title last week. Then we got Disco Inferno versus Chris Jericho. I love Jericho paying tribute to his dad by pulling Disco's shirt over his head for a hockey fight. That was great.
Did his dad marry Gail Kim?
No.
Oh, it's a chef.
Yeah, Irvine the chef. Irvine the hockey player is a completely different fella.
I'm just fucking around, you two numbskulls. I'm trying to bring some levity to this fucking show. Unlike the brevity of this match.
So,
Is there anything more distracting than editing in Chris Jericho's
yes,
current music?
it's astonishing.
Oh,
Drives
I'll tell
me
you.
nuts.
I'll tell you what's more distracting when your son comes in and goes, "Where's his list?"
Oh, God.
Oh, there you go.
And can you believe of all the moves that they gave Disco Inferno for a finisher, he's got the Stone Cold Stunner?
Yeah,
Of
what's
course.
up?
Like, what?
So Jericho wins with the Lion Tamer. As Disco is leaving, Kidman throws a soda in his face. So badass Disco Inferno, Glenn Gilberti, yanks Kidman over the guardrail and drops him with a stunner on the floor. The flock jumps the rail to beat him up. Scotty Riggs in an eye patch runs out to make the save. Raven pulls his men off Riggs, and the fight just stops and everyone backs away slowly. Barbarian versus Glacier.
Man, this was the first one tonight that was like UFC 1. We got a Barbarian, and we got a karate guy.
A ninja.
Having a fight. And the best part of this is, in the middle of this match, the karate guy, whose gimmick is he does a lot of kicks and flips, he decides, I'm going to do a double overhook
Yep.
on the Barbarian.
Yeah, a double overhook belly-to-belly suplex.
And then I'm going to suplex him. And the Barbarian landed right on his goddamn head. Now, I've seen people look like they've landed on their head, but they didn't really land on their head. It's an illusion. This Barbarian landed right on top of his goddamn head. And I know that because not only did I see it with my own eyes, but the Barbarian began to sell his head.
Yeah.
He probably wasn't selling.
The Barbarian has never sold his head in his whole career. So as soon as he fell down and grabbed his head, I thought, oh my God, he's dead. He's holding his head. But instead, he leaped up a second later and took this guy's head off with a clothesline. And then they went to the finish here. But why in the world was Glacier doing a double overhook overhead belly-to-belly suplex
I don't know.
Fair question.
on the Barbarian?
I don't know. So Glacier won with his kick. Oh, Jimmy Hart ran out and got a huge ovation because they were in Memphis, and then he got kicked off the apron. And Glacier kicked Barbarian and pinned him. And then Meng hits the ring during the light show and puts the Tongan death grip on Glacier.
God, it was awesome.
You know what this is leading to?
You know what happens when the
Glacier versus Meng.
I never have siblings in the class and we do the grappling game. If somebody ever beats one of the siblings, I always have the other sibling come in and I tell him, you got to get revenge for your brother.
Wow.
They were beaten by this guy. Yeah, it turned into a martial arts movie. But the point is, the Barbarian gets beaten, but then the lights go out and his fucking partner's right there to take out the karate guy.
Sure.
Just like every martial arts movie.
It is, actually.
And the screen goes blank as Meng is going, it's awesome.
I do love in the Faces of Fear. You had
And there wasn't a lot awesome on this show.
Faces of Fear, you got two guys who look similar, work similar, similar size, but they always made it very clear, this one is the scariest guy in the world. The other guy is very, very scary, but this one over here is very scary. Raven comes out for a promo. He apologizes for the damage he has done to Scotty Riggs' eye, saying very insincerely, I'm sorry, it was an accident, I feel your pain. He's going off about how his childhood was tortured, he had been picked on and beaten and bullied, and that dick Tony Schiavone says, I can see why. Oh, all right. So Raven explains he has surrounded himself with the dregs of society to take revenge on the world, and at this point, Van Hammer debuted in his transvestite prostitute look. We had a Mongo Goldberg video package. Yuji Nagata versus Alex Wright.
By the way, does anything kill the reputation of Raven for being a smart guy, like hiring Van Hammer for the fucking flock?
Cannot have been his choice.
Van Hammer?
Who had a fishnet top
Yeah.
with a hole cut in it around his nipple, and his nipple was pierced.
To emphasize,
Yes.
I have a pierced nipple. To go with his silver lipstick and whatever way he'd done to his eyes.
Rouge?
I'm not sure.
I don't know what they put around the eyes.
Yuji Nagata versus Alex Wright.
Imagine this match.
The highlight of this was Yuji hitting a superplex and Sonny begins to slap the mat and shout, "It's over!" I don't know why. That amused me. So Alex is making his comeback. Sonny Ono hands Deborah a big wad of cash. Then he forcibly kisses her. She slaps him, and this somehow leads to Yuji winning with a Nagata lock. A mess. Hogan and Bischoff came out again. They held up a poster that indicated Sting had found himself a small part in a movie. How dare Sting try to break into Hulk Hogan's industry?
It's actually very clever because they found a way to plug a Sting movie,
Right.
even though Sting is their most hated enemy. They had the poster out there.
And Sting doesn't talk.
The Real Reason Men Commit Crimes was the name of this classic Oscar winner, if I recall correctly. And yeah, under the guise of claiming they were upset that Sting was trying to break into the man's industry, they plugged the shit out of his movie.
And what I got from this poster, it says the real reason men commit crimes, and there is a chesty woman on the poster.
The answer
Well, that
to
about answers it.
The answer to that is apparently cleavage. Yeah, so they did this, and then nothing happened. And then they go to the announcers who shrug, and they go back to Hogan and Bischoff who are standing there. Then they go back to the announcers who shrug again, and it goes to break. Live TV. Mike Tenay also plugged Sting's movie. Chris Benoit versus Saturn.
Best 2 minutes of wrestling I watched this week.
Dude, all you need to know is it did go 2 minutes, and all of a sudden the bell rang, and Tony Schiavone says, "What the hell are they ringing the bell for? I have no idea. I don't either."
Okay, well, let me explain. This is a great 1 minute and 59 seconds. But then they did the finish. Saturn squats on Benoit and grabs the rope, pinning him with the ropes for leverage. Nick Patrick drops to his belly. He checks that Benoit's shoulders are down for a second or two. And then he counts 1, and he counts 2, and he counts 3. It was a 3 count.
And it was that cadence.
How did we all miss it?
I didn't.
I did.
I saw it
didn't
very
miss
clearly.
I saw this. This was a pinfall, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Goddamn
So they keep
Mandela effect.
They keep fighting. Patrick is calling for the bell. The bell ringer won't ring it. That didn't help things.
Right.
That might have been why.
Yeah.
It was a delayed bell
The
ring.
bell ringer was as confused as anyone else. And then the flock hits the ring and they start brawling. I assume they were supposed to hit the ring for the DQ. Well, that would explain why Saturn was on top.
You know what,
I
though?
don't know what happened.
You know what? Let's just say that everything you said happened,
No, it did.
because it didn't happen in my timeline or Tony Schiavone's. Let's just say that happened, and your lead announcer on national television says, "What the hell are they ringing the bell for? I have no idea."
Right.
Shouldn't someone in the truck queue up the finish
Sure.
so that they can show a replay and find out what the hell happened here? Because they didn't do it, and then they do all of the post-match. There's no replay. And as they go to commercial, Tony Schiavone says, and I quote, "Boy, this is weird."
Oh, God. Okerlund brings Ric Flair out for a promo. Flair vows to win World War III, disable Kurt Hennig, and beat Lex Luger tonight. He threatened to break Hennig's legs, arms, eyes, neck, and soul. Calls out Hogan, Savage, Nash, Hall, Bagwell, and Orton, says it makes no difference to him. Finally repeats again his promise to win World War III, and then says he and Gene will have a party with the Nitro girls. That party sounds awesome.
So he entered that contest. Can you imagine Flair's VHS?
Yes.
They couldn't show it on TV.
Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio.
It's just his knob.
Excuse me?
Just sent it in.
His VHS pick
Yeah.
was just a dick pic.
Yeah.
Okay.
A video.
Oh.
That's worse. Anyway, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio had a great match. They were doing stuff the announcers had never seen before, had no idea how to
I
call.
hadn't.
Yeah.
There was some wacky spot where Ray did a round off, and then he bounced in. He sprung into the air, landed on his back on the top rope, and teetered precariously.
Right.
But then tipped over, and Eddie caught him on his shoulder, and then Ray spun around into an arm drag.
Yes.
There were two spots where it was like, if 99% of the people tried this, it would be a disaster.
exactly
But these
what I
two
read.
guys are so fucking good that they made both of them work.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. Ray probably tried it for the first time here and then went, I'm not doing that again.
That's possible. So Ray goes for the West Coast pop, but Eddie catches him, falls backwards, nicks him on the ropes. Ray sells this like death. Paralysis and death. He's laying on his side as Eddie hits a frog splash, then Eddie cradles him and pins him. Eddie is the new Cruiserweight champion. Dean Malenko runs out to have a stare down with Eddie, and Ray was selling like it was a severe injury all the way through the break.
Good match.
Yes.
It was a very good match. Not Halloween Havoc,
No.
No.
but very good.
Ray Traylor versus Randy Savage. This is every Randy Savage WCW match. He sells and 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 he sells. Cuts the guy off, hits a body slam with a big elbow and wins.
Cool.
He and Liz spray painted Boss Man as well.
Well, first off, he hit him with 4 fucking elbows.
Yeah, that's true.
Nearly killed the poor guy. Everybody cheers because the NWO's cool. No one cares about Big Bubba. Goes nuts, kills a referee. I guess for some reason now Liz is like totally in the NWO. She wants to spray paint guys and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you don't believe a thing she's doing.
There
And
was
then-
a point in this match where she had the biggest smile on her face I've ever seen.
they completely obliterate Big Bubba. And as they're going to the break, Tony Schiavone says, "We have just received word that the decision has been reversed, and Big Bubba is your winner." I was like, why did you bother?
I don't know. People were taking meticulous records.
Randy put him over.
Tony didn't want the people at DDT Digest to get confused. Kurt Hennig versus Dallas Page. Having one of Hennig's better WCW matches. He's bumping and selling forever early. He makes a comeback and goes right after the ribs, and so everyone's into it. Page makes his comeback, and he's punching the snot out of him, and everyone goes crazy. And Hennig hits a random belt shot for the DQ. Lame.
There were so many lame finishes on this show. This was another one.
I know I undersell how popular DDP is, but when they're chanting DDP during this match, the crowd, it was thunderous.
Oh, yeah. He was a huge star.
Hey, you know what? This DDP, he dragged a good match out of Kurt Hennig. The same thing that Benoit did. Hennig at this point in his career, if you're not going to drag a good match out of him, he's just going to go through the motions and take a couple of wacky bumps and just sort of have a match. But if you're determined to drag a match out of him, you can get a good match out of the guy. And that's what Benoit did, and that's what DDP did here.
Ric Flair versus Lex Luger. It was every Ric Flair-Lex Luger match you ever saw, and that is in no way a complaint.
By the way, why'd they do this match?
Last week, Lex was wrestling Hennig, and
Right.
Flair interfered to attack Hennig, but in doing so, he cost Lex a shot at the U.S. title.
Okay, I remember now.
Okay. So you get 1,000 chops, 1,000 no-sells, the figure four, the long struggle, the reversal, the rope break. Lex begins his comeback by no-selling and flexing his pecs, as if he knows in his head, as long as he still has his pecs, everything's going to be okay. Hits a superplex and a power slam, and he calls for the torture rack, and Kurt Hennig hits the ring, and it's a lame DQ.
God, these finishes were horrible.
Back-to-back matches in the same program. The only good thing about this, well, actually the match was fun until the finish. Lex presses Flair over his head, but Hennig re-enters the ring, so Lex tosses Flair onto Hennig, which is fine with Flair, because he hates Hennig more anyway.
Right.
And he's thrown onto him, and he immediately transitions to full mount and starts punching the snot out of him. It was great.
What I liked was, so they do the rack, or they set up for the rack, Hennig runs out. You just hear the air go out of the crowd.
Yep.
Like, fuck, another stupid finish. And once again, this time it's Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay says, why did he run out there with the U.S. Championship belt? Every week, the announcers have less and less of a clue. What in the hell is going on? They're baffled by everything.
Were they just booking on the fly?
Yeah! That's not even the problem. It's like booking on the fly with shit that doesn't make sense. It was bad.
Main event segment took about 10 minutes. I will summarize. Bischoff and Hogan came out to call out Sting one more time. Sting obliged, came to fight, but then like a dummy, threw his bat away. And as soon as he threw his bat away, the NWO came down to beat him up, and nobody came out to make the save, and that's how Nitro ended.
Boom!
It's bad.
It was,
Plus
hey,
four.
at least they got some heat on Sting for once. I should note that after all of these months, and we finally find out that Sting is part of WCW and he wants to take out NWO and Hulk Hogan, not one friend runs in to help the guy.
No!
His ass is handed to him, he's all alone, and he's just left like a geek.
I figured it'd be the Giant,
Nope.
Luger, Flair, any
None
of
of
them. No. Page. No one cared.
Bischoff did commentary, annoying commentary. Hogan screamed that he was God, and that's how the show went off the air. This was not a good show.
No.
Neither of them were.
I have no interest in World War III.
No.
Let's play a song. I'm not sure I've played this, but we got a little extra time, so let's do this and wrap it up. I guess you motherfuckers know who I am. Representing New York. Money, power, respect, and bitches.
Right. The new block. The new block. The new street. Yes. They represented Brooklyn or something.
Okay.
One of them said he was Murder One.
He didn't give a fuck about nothing except the money.
Two other guys, yes, the dirty, rotten scoundrels. That's true. They promised to get high. And fuck somebody up. Big Block was in the studio. Yeah. The gloves were off.
Holy shit.
He cuts a promo.
And you know what?
He cursed a lot. Two other men meeting in a car. They exchanged money.
So out comes Melly Mel. Mel's a legend. With a honey.
Mm-hmm. Diamonds, rubies, and jacuzzis.
Same bullshit.
Diamonds, rubies, and jacuzzis.
Keep going.
Diamonds, rubies, and jacuzzis.
Oh, yeah.
Diamonds, rubies, and jacuzzis.
It's your fucking lucky day. Man, the old salad days of the UWF. All right, everybody, going to wrap it up. We'll be back on Thursday with Granny, NXT, and more. And that is it. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.